was the running mate of Audu before he actually died.
So that's
And
how he came into
so
the
that's why he
picture.
came in, and so he had to go to court when the issue of who gets the ticket to become the governor actually came up, and the court actually gave it to Yahya Bello.
Well, the APC substituted.
Yes, the party actually submitted Yahya Bello's name, being the second or be the first runner-up in the primaries.
And what made this case a lot peculiar was because there was no winner declared at the end of.
The Audu was actually leading, but the election was inconclusive initially. During that period was when Prince Audu died, and the matter came up.
And this was a really strange scenario because
so the election had been part conducted.
Yes.
There are always distinguishing
So,
factors.
and-
Let
and-
me tell you,
and-
there are always distinguishing factors.
and we hadn't had this kind of scenario before where the leading candidate passes away before everything has been formally declared.
Yes. So, and that was where it was, according to some lawyers that we interviewed then, they said it was a gap. It was a lacuna in the Constitution that the Constitution never thought of.
Or in the Electoral Act, which was then amended, which had been amended, I suppose. But anyway, I'm not sure we can call that a landmark case, Georges, because
it is significant.
It's significant, but as to a landmark case is one which sets the tone for future judicial interpretation or has a real impact, not just on the immediate parties in a case, but is now referred to by others as this is how you operate in such a situation. But I think the problem when we're talking about the judiciary and our democracy, that the problem is that so many of these cases, we look at them and we say, well, it's just peculiar to that case. Those circumstances. In other words, we don't seem to be laying down that body of jurisprudence about electoral matters that allows us to feel confident that it's irrelevant who the parties are, it's irrelevant who the political parties are, that these are judicial principles upon which we can stand. Rather, it seems to be, I mentioned to you earlier the case of Ajasin against Domobori, and I contrasted it with the case of Nwobodo against Ono. And, it's the background was that when the wrong result was declared in Ondo State, the people didn't wait for they took to the streets and they showed their anger and their rejection of the result that had been. It wasn't so much it was the result that because one should remember that Omobori Owo had been Ajasin's deputy governor, and then when he was not allowed to contest for the ticket of the winning party, he transferred to the ruling party at the center, and that was how he came to be their candidate. But the point is that, on one hand you had Ajasin won his own case, Nwobodo lost his, and that's why I know very clearly why Ajasin won and was supposed to have won. But the impression we get is that in other cases the law is that political considerations come in. I did a case of the Senate Deputy Senate President John Wash Pam, who had lost his re-election. He was a member of the NPP, and he lost the election. It was that election that they called
Nigeria People's Party. For
Nigeria
those
People's
that
Party.
don't remember,
It was an election held in 1983, and it was the election that was called a moonslide election. Now, I had gone up to file the case. We argued the case. The respondent who had been declared the winner did not file any papers at all. In other words, they did not contest. When we went to court, they did some cross-examination, but they had no, because in court, in law, you must have a case. And if you don't file a case, it's as if you're saying, I submit to judgment, I agree. So John Washpam was declared the winner at the High Court level, the Election Tribunal level. Then it went to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal said, a person who doesn't file a defense, normally the principle is that you don't file a defense, it means you admit what has been alleged. Now the Court of Appeal said a person who doesn't file a defense neither admits nor denies everything. He simply fails to join issues. And then after turning everything on, it said they managed to give against John Washpam. And we were in the middle of the appeal to the Supreme Court when the military struck on the 31st of December 1983. And that's what I mean when I say that the judiciary is not always able to say, these are the principles on which we decide cases, because they will always find something different. They always distinguish the case.
Okay. Do we have to?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. So we'll take one last case from judges.
I think that's the.
And then we can start taking comments and questions.
The reason why I picked that of James Faleke and Gaya is because it actually addresses the supposed the situation that came up then, that someone died, and he's the leading candidate in that particular inconclusive election. And since the Constitution did not actually say anything about that, so it was actually resolved
by the court.
By the court. That was why I chose that particular.
I think that between the if we pick between Adams Oshomole and Osareme Osumbo in Edo State and Peter Obi and Chris Ngige, incidentally, almost all the cases had fallen between the 2007 election, where I think about 10 states had their election results overturned and they had to go for appeal and all of that. So maybe we pick one of them. Adams Oshomole versus Osumbo or Peter Obi versus Chris Ngige.
I don't know. Maybe
I mean, the thing about a lot of these cases, particularly the ones that stem from the 2007, is that, because I mentioned when we did the 12 2/3 case, it wasn't that we don't know what it wasn't that 10 votes were cast and you're telling me 50, as happened in 1983. 10 votes were cast and somebody was getting 10,000. These cases now, we were getting back to that situation where 10 votes were cast and INEC was seeing 50 or 500, and it became so that you now have to start really getting down to this nitty-gritty of what happened at the polling station and how many votes were cast, how many people signed the, and
I think the Adams Oshomole's case was really remarkable in that the judge had to cancel votes from certain local governments.
Because those cases are extremely hard to prove.
And then they had to redo the calculations, which was, some had argued that whether it was controversial that kind of court cancel votes and then shouldn't that be INEC's responsibility?
But if there is evidence that those votes were not duly
cast. I mean, since then, the Independent National Electoral Commission has been trying to draw us away from these wildly unlikely figures that are being declared for election results. They've been trying, and that's why, as I've said, you've had to now have vote buying and all that kind of
what you just said also happened in the case of Obi and you understand, because eventually the tribunal actually gave the victory to Obi.
Yes.
Ngige was initially declared by INEC, and in the ruling, the appellant who secure the majority of lawful vote cast.
Yes.
That means that certain votes
you have to now start counting the number of votes
cancelled, and you understand.
So it's a problem when the electoral body is some kind of is compromised. Although I have to say that, to my mind, the people of Anambra State benefited from all these shenanigans that went on, because just as Ngigi went there and had the intra-party shrine and snapping at his back and all the rest of it, and so he, having got back onto the scene, he felt he had to perform very well in order to justify being there. When he was now thrown out and Peter Obi came in, he also felt, I have to perform very well in order to to justify being
one
here.
Other thing that is that Ngige did was that the case actually the election was in 2003. He was there till 2007 when Obi was sworn in. And in 2007, when the INEC was thinking of conducting another election for another governorship election, he actually went to court to say, okay, Obi, you have
used up my tenure.
You've finished the tenure, 4 years tenure. And Obi had to go to court
and
to
say,
no,
I'm just starting.
I just started now.
That was a landmark decision, because that's why we have so many off-cycle governorship elections in the country today. So I would certainly say that second victory that Peter Obi won was a landmark decision, which has impacted what has happened in subsequent election cases. But some of these other ones, I'm not sure that when push comes to shove, they won't find some means of saying that we can't. We're not going to follow that.
And then some because they were maybe incumbent who lost their second term opportunity. So I think that those became like landmark cases.
Like Ayo Fayose had that situation where he was sworn in, he was out for a period, but they said, sorry.
Exactly.
The door is closed for you.
Olagusonyo Ilola versus Raul for Regression. That was
well, at the presidential level, we don't have too far to wait to find out whether we'll have another landmark.
Well, so far in Nigeria, the Supreme Court in particular has been really absolutely unwilling and reluctant to either even allow for runoff election. And as for setting aside, because we were all we were not all here in 2003 and 2007, but those were certainly elections. Apart from the moonslide election of 1983, they probably come out as the most rigged and corrupted. And I say corrupted in the sense of the result was just.
But the judgments were not all unanimous. They were split decision. I think for one of was it 2007?
No, you will always have. Even in the 12 2/3 case, you had a majority decision. So, but it's the majority, just as in the United States, over the hanging chads of that saw George Bush becoming president when he didn't win the most votes.
Hanging chad being the impression on the voting
the hole
paper.
that is punched in the voting card.
Whether the hole was punched through by the machine or just dented. I mean, it was bizarre watching them hold up those papers. If it was dented, was the intention to vote for this person? If there was a hole there, is it a valid vote?
Was it completely, or was it hanging on?
Was it a push? Was it? And I thought, what kind of democracy is this? If there was a push there, that's where the person wanted to vote. What is this thing that the machine didn't make a hole? Anyway, that's American democracy.
But the point is that even there you have split decisions. It's the majority rules, but it's more important in the United States because of the politicized nature of the way in which they appoint their judges. You know.
One question I want something I want Ayo to address is they should raise bail of 100 million and 50 million security deposit. I don't know what it is.
No, do I. I mean, I was reading that they had set bail at 100 million. Now, if they say that there's a 50 million security deposit, I don't know whether that means that cash of 50 million has to be actually deposited with the court, or whether you have to have a bank guarantee that they will provide that they will pay the money if the defendant or the accused person fails to appear in court.
But now that the courts have granted bail for the second time.
Yeah, but you see, granting bail, and I think it's important that we do look behind the words granting bail at what does bail, what do the conditions of bail mean? Because the argument at one point was that, well, Showore has 2 passports and therefore he cannot. I don't know whether that's true, by the way, or not. I don't know whether he in fact has 2 passports. But these sorts of arguments about the objective of bail is to secure the appearance of the accused person before the courts. And some people will run away. Some people will say, no, I'm ready to face whatever you have to throw at me, even where they feel that the court is inclined, I should say, to bend over backwards to find that there's a case made out by the government in power, that they will still say, yes, I'll still come and face my trial. I'm ready to do that.
Let's try and squeeze in about 10 minutes of
phone calls. Okay.
Engagement on the public square. Phone. Can we split it between phone, WhatsApp, and Twitter?
All right, let's see. If you don't have our phone numbers, here they are: 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and then 012773993. On WhatsApp, it's 0809 597 5805. All right. So calls.
We're trying to figure out which way to go. Can you check WhatsApp and see?
Let's see.
What we have.
Let me get the tab for the WhatsApp.
Okay. If not, we have calls coming in. So. Hello. Welcome to the public square.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Andrew, and I'm calling from Aja.
Okay, welcome, Andrew, from Aja.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question?
Please, what I wanted to say is, about this Mr. Showore. It's quite annoying, and I don't understand why they are not bringing proof, or they are not bringing their case to court. What is the delay? If you've allegedly accused him of something that he did, why is it taking the DSS or the federal government to bring their proof or to bring what they need to prosecute him? And just take a look at the nonsense. I mean, I'm very sorry to use that word, but what is all that? The bill they're talking about that he should bring shorties. He cannot appear in public places.
All right.
All these things are. I feel like the law, the rule of law, or the law is no longer upheld in this country anymore. Because I do not know why all this is taking time. It's taking the government time to bring out all they need.
We got
against
you.
him.
We got you. We need to try and squeeze in more calls, huh? Okay. Sorry. Hello?
That is almost like a banning order in South African days. But even Nelson Mandela was able to make his speech.
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Welcome to the public square.
Yes, so my name is John. I'm calling from Shomoli.
Okay, welcome.
Yes, I wanted to put more a little light on this Showore and Rotimi Amici and the mayor. I think on Showore, are they taking because this London court has given us 200 million to pay and 150 million for security before they listen to Is it what our own judiciary are trying to interpret because of what happened to London because of this P&ID?
It's not necessarily connected.
Okay. No problem. I thought that is why they wanted to have a security before they do that. Since they say it's not connected, no problem.
Right.
Between Nomeha and Rotumi during their case, I think it's because of his PDP. That's why they didn't have to go like that. But since the inception of this government, I never see where somebody went to court like that. The thing goes straightly to opposition. Because the judiciary is not independent, and the judiciary become independent.
But remember that Amechi was not opposition; he was PDP.
too.
Yes, it is during the PDP government that thing happened.
But he was a PDP member. He was a member of the PDP.
He's a member of PDP. Omeha is still a member of PDP.
And so was Amechi.
Yeah?
And so was Amechi.
Yes.
So both of them were PDP. It was an intra-party matter.
They both contested the primary.
Yes, because of who went to primary, who won the primary.
Yes.
That was why the decision went like that. Even this one between Yaya Bello and Faleki. Because they still want to do it. But apart from those two, there's no way in this government that anything that falls into that judiciary will listen to opposition. But sister, let me leave it like that. Continue your program. Thank you.
Some election results
But you know that's not true now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen cases where APC has lost case. So
Even in this last election, a lot of.
I mean, Zamfara, all APC candidates were shoved aside.
You're out.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's not right to allege that under APC has not lost any case. Please, we should try and keep it factual. All right, should you try and take one more?
Okay,
Hello?
one more.
You always threaten us with WhatsApp. We never see anything.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you need to speak up, please.
Okay.
Welcome to the public square. You need to speak up.
Yes.
It's the public square.
My name is Jonathan from Banagi.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
What I wanted to ask, my own question is, I don't know if the guest over there could answer it. What are the rules for a landmark decision?
Okay, what is a landmark decision? I think
the rules.
There aren't any rules as such. I wouldn't say that there are rules. A landmark decision, it's more about, as I said, that does it set a standard that people look to and follow? Landmark is generally something that people look to as saying that it has developed the law, it has advanced the law. And the reason why I said that some of these are political cases don't really qualify as landmark is because you get the feeling that they are very much tailored to the events of the day rather than setting legal standards that will be good for today and will be good for tomorrow, no matter who the parties and the people involved in the cases are. But it's not a matter of rules. It's just it's actually as much the matter of public opinion or popular opinion among lawyers that they say, that was a case. The 12 to 3rd case is landmark.
No, please let's try and keep it to one question, please. We only have a few minutes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, let me run the WhatsApp very quickly. I always threatening the WhatsApp. Olarotimi Suleri says, I'm enjoying the analysis. Tell us some more. Does it now mean that the court is contradicting its judgment? That's why judicial financial autonomy cannot see the light of day, so that the judiciary can be the federal government's sledgehammer against citizens and opposition.
It's not clear what he's saying.
I understand.
Well, I think what he means is that he feels that because judges are dependent on the federal government for their money, then they will do what the federal government wants. But I think that I think that sort of puts judges in a way that it demeans them. Yes, there may be some people who will do anything for money, but there are a lot more who will say, money or not, I'll do what I need to do, because they know that in the end, the Nigerian people, whether it is benefactors or what, they will come to their aid.
Again, we refer to the Zamfara case where APC lost every candidate, every seat, House of Assembly, Senate, Rep, governorship, So please, the idea that ruling parties or or that this particular ruling party at the federal level has not lost in the courts. That's not true. That's not true. Please don't
I mean, this
generalize.
this ruling party has lost at the courts, and the previous ruling party also lost in the courts. So that I think that we shouldn't just say that because of money, judges will forget about the law. I think that on that in a considering the bad press that we give them, I think that actually they do a lot better than that many of us think that they have been doing. A lot better.
Yes. Chiki from Akute says, good evening. My take is the judiciary nation is not independent. SOP, I think that standard operating procedure grants all arms of government the right to act without fear or favor, but it's not the case here. Jankara judgments are rampant. People buy cases like candy. I think it was Donald Trump that used giving the cookie. Nancy Pelosi is giving out summons like cookie.
This is a Trump-style WhatsApp message.
The government of the day makes matters worse. It chooses court orders to obey and replaces justices in high positions that don't dance to its tune. Like the case of Onogan. This from Chike in Akute.
Well, I think that the issue of the allegation or the complaint that the government does not obey court orders, you cannot, on the one hand, say that the judges don't do anything that the government doesn't like, and then say that the orders that the government doesn't like are somehow emerging for the government not to obey. So I think that we should give the judiciary its due. It's another matter about the issue of obeying the court orders and abiding by them. I mean, everybody yawned, quite frankly, when a court said release Sowore because the 45 days has expired, and then surprise, surprise, the charges were now filed. I mean, who didn't see that coming?
Yes.
You know.
I was surprised, George. You didn't include the June 12th.
The midnight.
The midnight. That was in Landmark. That was roguish.
Okay. So before we wind up, there's an important matter of public interest, which Ayo is eminently qualified to update us on.
Yes. I just wanted to say that tomorrow, tomorrow, it will be 2,000 days exactly since the Chibok girls were kidnapped on the night of 14th to 15th of April 2014, and 112 of them are still unaccounted for. And as usual in Lagos, because we are not as serious as they are in Abuja, where they turn out every day on behalf of the Chibok girls, but in Lagos we turn out every Saturday to mark the issue of to continue our demand on the government that they should bring back our girls. And so we'll be there tomorrow at Falomo under the bridge to repeat that demand. And of course,
at what time?
At 12, high noon, 12 o'clock. It's 12 till 1.
Okay.
Well, those are the official hours. Sometimes things go on a bit longer, but of course everybody is welcome to turn out. And
There's
quite
another
frankly,
venue on the mainland.
well, normally we have a venue, we have Ejigbo, where people meet. But on a day like this, Ejigbo will come to Falomo and join us, so that we can all, so that we can amplify our voices.
Okay.
But normally Ejigbo meets in, they meet in Ejigbo, opposite the local government, every twice a month on the 2nd and 3rd. But this week they're going to be joining us because, as I said, we want to amplify the voices. And you wear red.
We know you are always there, and everyone is encouraged to wear red. Any special speakers?
No, I don't think so. I mean, but if I'm there, are you?
That's why I said you are always there. You're always there alongside other.
Contempt.
No, but I know. Having attended sometimes, special speakers are invited.
You're going to have Habiba Balogun, who is a real motivational speaker. You're going to have Yemi Adamolekun, who is also another of our motivational speakers. Look, we have, I mean, our main man, Monday Odion, he's always there. And when I hear Monday, I know that this idea that a person has to have the utmost levels of education before they can understand issues, grasp the issue of obligations that government owes to the citizens, and that if the and that the citizens are entitled to demand that government meets its obligations. People say Chibok girls. I say, look, Chibok girls are standing in the gap for all of us, all Nigerian citizens whose rights to whom government is not meeting its obligations. And because the Chibok girls cannot be here, we stand in the gap for them.
The 11th of October is also the International Day of the Girl Child, which is next Friday. In that respect, is there anything you'd like to say about how girl children, the status of girl children in Nigeria at the moment, with regards to education especially?
We only have to look at the figures to see that if we look at literacy figures, if we look at out-of-school figures, if we look at even survival into adulthood, we'll see that the girl child's case is always worse. And the tragedy of it is that investment in the girl child actually replicates itself more because the educated girl child, firstly, she's not turned into a baby factory. She's got her education. She knows that this is an important part that will make more of her, so that when she becomes a mother, she will be able to impart to her children. You know, one of the problems that we don't talk about enough in Nigeria is the rate of population increase that kind of makes nonsense of any improvement in our GDP and so on. I mean, quite frankly, when we say that we have the largest GDP in Africa, I would say, well, if not, why not? The number of people that we have and the GDP is not growing at the same rate as the population.
Incidentally, this morning on Nigeria Info Morning Crossfire, the topic for discussion was family planning. And we did make the point that education of the girl child is a really, really huge factor in actualizing human rights, aspirations, and that the fact that enough investment is not being made at the federal, state and local government level in girl child education and protection of girl children is just absolutely horrendous.
Well, and I think also it's part of the whole idea that women who have control or autonomy over their own bodies, their own choices about whether or not they want to be married or not, that somehow they're going to destroy society or become ungovernable. I, in a way, it's trying to... in a way, it demeans the men because it's kind of telling them that you can't cope with an educated woman, so you better keep her down.
Sadly, there are some men that can't cope.
But what does coping mean, really? What do we really mean by coping? That's the question. Because coping is not oppressing. You know.
So, one of the senators in the last the eighth assembly actually said it that if they have two of a female senator in the Senate, that they will be in trouble.
Well, that says more.
But Nigeria needs to be that kind of trouble.
It says more about Nigerian male politicians than.
Exactly.
Okay, so the news comes up at 6 with Godwin Asukwa.
After the news, there's music and moments with Ifeanyi and Sammy. Great program to listen to. So until next week.
Friday.
Just a correction. SOP. You should have told me what it is. Chike says separation of power. I said it was
Standard operating
procedure.
procedure. Because you're a broadcaster.
Thankfully,
You're
you
a
did not.
broadcaster. That's why you thought that.
Thankfully, it did
Okay.
not detract from the meaning
Yes.
of what he said. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so next Friday, 4
Yes.
p.m., Public Square again on
Yeah.
99.3. Thank you so much, Ayo.
I'll be here. I'll be
thank
here
you,
to
judges.
serve you with my
All
ideas.
right. All right. Please keep listening.